Hey, what's up? I'm just popping in for a quick video. And then I'm I'm a damn liar because I got about 4 or 5 of them that I got. I got some things on my mind. It's probably gonna take about 4 or 5 because it only lasts for 10 minutes. But this video may or may not be viewed by very many or anyone. So I'm just gonna approach it like maybe this is a small intimate class setting with about one teacher and about about 1 or 2 students, and the teacher's actually the dumbest person in the class. But the teachers actually thought about the lesson plan, because like sometimes like a lot of things are really like dumb or bad for us, but you can appreciate that someone's actually thought about this before. So like you get to like signing something, it's like damn, someone actually thought this through, so it must be real. Or like you get like a little questionnaire like at the doctor, and it's like, wow, these are well thought out questions, so I should spill my guts. And now they got you on the hook. So I had some different thoughts in my mind, and that I'll just start there. But I'll say that this video has been inspired because I saw what appeared to be a UFO today, and it was operated by a Great Dane, and it had a small and but highly potent and also androgynous frog that was on its shoulder, and the frog would appear to be a little bit having a say so in a purview and oversight over the operation of the Great Dane. although although the although the frog was butt ass naked, but it wasn't necessarily greater. It wasn't necessarily greater or lesser than the Great Dane, because the Great Dane was also um, the Great Dane was also butt ass naked, and it wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time that I saw a butt ass naked uh, Great Dane attended by a sexually potent consort. Although this would be the first time that the consort was also butt ass naked. But there's really nothing wrong with butt ass nakedness, but it also does show some of the double standard in our society, where the same thing may fly or not fly. So you can have like a lot of dogs that would be walking around more so butt ass naked, and also attended by beautiful people walking with the dog, and getting maybe more attention from the people, or maybe more time walking, where some people would say walking is very intimate, almost like holding hands. But I don't know if it's as intimate with the leash around your neck. But one could say that some of the most intimate experiences can involve leashes and whips and stuff. So I'm none to judge, but all I meant is that a lot of dogs, and I saw a great dog, like no less than a Great Dane, being attended and getting maybe more playing time, or at least walking time, than me as a grown man. And also that dog had been butt ass naked that time and walking in public, and nobody had a problem with it, not even their beautiful companion. But it does factor a little bit into what I was going with this video, is that we do have some double standards. And it's interesting, like what flies and what doesn't in a society. And you could maybe appreciate a society deeper by observing what is flagrant in a society, and what is truly commendable and what is detestable in a society. And you might actually be confounded if you were to approach that on maybe arbitrary lines, or lines of some form of specific value. And some things are good for some people, for some things are good in the perception of some people, for some things in people to do, and some things are not. And there's actually some ambivalence to that. But if you could appreciate the nuances in what's acceptable and what's not, what's deviant and what's not. And deviant doesn't necessarily involve wickedness or breaching of agreed upon legal norms, although it can involve norms of etiquette or conduct, or even demeanor or bearing or personality, where a person can get in a lot of can have a lot of deprivation and punishment for not having necessarily breached something that is an agreed upon law, or doing something even within the scope of their ostensible legal scope of liberty, and be written off for that. So I wanted to, like, one example of what I was going with that is, I was thinking about the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. So I was in you can actually observe quite a lot sometimes by if you observe men who are respected in a society, but they have some things that are extreme about them, and maybe some people may or may not appreciate what they did as antisocial, but they're yet have some things that can be appreciated as extreme by most standards, yet they still have respect and standing as a feature of their appearance. So what I meant to say is that in a society like what we have in the West, you have maybe, so to all things there's a counterpart. In most things there's a counterpart because reality is balanced. So you would have people of implicit bias who experience implicit bias, a perceptual bias. I think the author Nicholas Taleb used the term perceptual bias, referring to maybe a doctor. If you can imagine a doctor who looks like a quack doctor, like you look at me and you can imagine if you show up for a doctor's appointment or maybe like some form of like advanced treatment for a doctor, and you see someone look like me, a lot of people would run out the room. But actually Nicholas Taleb would say that, Nassim Nicholas Taleb would say that if you went to a person who was well put together, like if you can imagine Jeffrey Dahmer just hop out the shower and just got his hair done, and had just had assistance with his appearance, and then also he on top of his natural favor for his appearance in his ethnicity, his ethnic appearance, or maybe his social appearance, if he had that put together and on point, and then also had degrees on the wall to go behind it, but yet he still had his same personality, or he wasn't necessarily deviant, but he just had the advantages that we could think would be afforded to someone of that appearance, and what social economic background you would come from with that appearance. Some of those very advantages and favors might actually be a detriment to your scope of competence in something very difficult and arduous, like being a medical professional or a full-fledged medical professional in some form of technical capacity, and that would actually be a limitation and actually a short-sighting in your ability. But if you were to perceive a person who looked like a quack but had actually managed to be standing in front of you as a doctor, that person may be more vetted, just because they had to overcome a perceptual bias and what would have had to overcome what they've done, and yet also prove and develop skills would be profound, according to Nicholas Taleb. So Nicholas Taleb would actually run away from Jeffrey Dahmer to get a second opinion from me, if that had been the case. But what I meant to say is that some people, you can say, maybe experience a perceptual bias implicitly, and some people experience a perceptual favor implicitly, such as Jeffrey Dahmer. So you wonder, so what came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the opportunity or the serial killer? A lot of people would talk about like nonverbal communication, this and that. One of the most clear indications of attraction, in my experience as a man and as a person, and not that I've seen it more so than I've experienced it, is that a person will show you their neck. A woman will show you their neck if they're interested in you. Like you can imagine some women like standing around like in a group talking, and then you walk by as a man, and a woman does like that. That's a very primate and innate form of attraction, but she really more so just showed you her neck. And that, so in a way, that's the most vulnerable part of our body. A tiger, a cat, or a dog will go straight for the neck. But you have a favor, like a person like Jeffrey Dahmer. We can imagine going back, and how many people did or did not show him their very neck, male and female of different ethnicities. We can appreciate as an adult, but also likely children would have showed him their neck. And I'm not saying that he was necessarily a pedophile and a predator of children, although he was that, and among some of his victims were children. And some of the cognitive dissonance in a society that yet somehow respects and somewhat celebrates him, if we're being honest, low key, many people, they actually straight overlooked the fact that he was in fact a predator on top of a serial killer, and a victimizer and a killer of children were among his victims. But yet a lot of people look right past that in appreciating the awesome monster that he is. And also on top of that, a lot of the men who were victimized by him were gay men of color, who are, if it's not enough to be marginalized as a man of color, most people are further marginalized as being homosexual, especially back then. So that's actually you have a contrast of a privilege and favor and marginalization, and then victimization of the marginalized person by the privileged person that a country would appear to celebrate, at least in terms of culture, as one of the contradictions I'm pointing out.